Views expressed in this show do not necessarily reflect those of the Armenian Council for Truth in Journalism or any other TMI affiliate.
All right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to the Diamond of Truth, where I, Lou Starski, will be playing ball. Today, I have a special guest with me, an old friend. I have a couple of council members that y'all are well familiar with. But I'd like to recap real quick. So far, the first week we talked about psychological warfare. And I talked briefly about a couple of well-known psychologists. Sigmund Freud led to Edward Bernays. Edward Bernays, has used it to create modern propaganda. And then the following week, we talked about healthcare and kind of how a lot of the financiers from when wealth classification was crazy back at the turn of the century. And we talked about how they established a lot of the institutions that we now follow, and that there were two different ways in America to do healthcare. But this week, we're going to take a break from all of that, and we're going to just have a conversation about 2020, and kind of some topics that have been kind of floating around. We're just going to do like a little hodgepodge about it. It's like I said, it's going to be just a series of topics, and we're just going to kind of get into conversation form. But as always, before I get started with any of that stuff, I'm going to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Flickwick. I'm going to have a different camera for them. But he even designed a damn box, dude. The guy's pretty smart, cool guy. But anyways, that's our hemp wick lighter dispenser. If you want to grab one, you can go to shop. Actually, I think I even have that in a new little guy here. So let's see how that sounds.
Visit us at shop.flickwick.com. That's shop.flickwic.com.
And the promo code you can use is going to be ACTJ 420%. So it's going to be the ACTJ 420%. And also you can head over to the ACTJ page, and right there at the top, there's going to be like a shop with us, and it's going to take you to a t-shirt. And the cool thing about that is we got some pretty badass custom t-shirts made by one of our guests tonight. So we'll get into that a little bit. Before that, I'm going to say, like I said, this is a special edition show. I wanted to bring kind of a round table together and kind of discuss kind of the previous topics a bit, and a few other new ones like censorship and other things like that with some talented and smart people that don't necessarily think like I do, because I know I'm kind of out there. But I'm going to play a couple of highlighted clips that I've grabbed from the internet and YouTube especially. I want to make sure YouTube gets their plug, because everybody thinks that that's a bad thing. But yes, I'm going to try to give the panel a lot to chew on, and hopefully they'll have some new ideas that I've never Let me add me back to the screen there so we can keep talking. Anyways, just make sure you visit all the affiliates, including the granddaddy of them all, TMI, Tribune, Media International. So I've seen so many beautiful young people grow, turn into even more amazing adults. And that's why 2020 really, really hurts, because I feel like the independents are the ones that are going to be the big losers in all of this. When the new world order comes, it's not going to be the big corporations. It's going to be all the little guys that kind of just color our world. And these are the people that I've dealt with in most of my life. And one of these people is actually, her name is Laura Diorsi. I met her a long, long time ago in Atlanta. And I'd like to bring her on now. What's going on, Laura? How are you?
That was so very sweet. How are you? It's good to see you. It's been forever and you have not aged at all.
Neither have you. I guess it's the Hispanic, the Hispanic in us. So real quick, because I did meet you when you were a baby, right? You were probably like 19, 18, something like that. You were very young,
I think
very
I was
talented.
20.
Everybody could see
I was 22-ish, 23 maybe, but yeah, it was a long time ago. I started trying to do the numbers and we've hit over a decade. It's definitely been over a decade, probably closer towards 15 or so even. I'm giving away my age and yours, sorry.
Well, what have you been up to then? And you know, those that don't keep up with you on social media like I do, but so from what I've seen, if I can just kind of lead into, I've seen you've kind of been performing with like one of the Allman Brothers, maybe. I've seen that you've kind of fly airplanes now. Like every time I come on there, it's something new and something fun.
I'm trying to turn the Rolodex and touch base on every avenue, but yeah, you nailed most of them. Aviation, music, much like you guys, I've been involved in a lot of like videography type work where I was doing some stuff for the Wright brothers family for about 4 years for Danny Wright. We produced a TV show called Fly Right, and it was really like the storyline of him and what he does. He works within the FAA's guidelines of the books that are mandated. So I kind of ran the office at the end of it, but it started like, you know, crawling from the bottom up. I always loved aviation. So I did that. So, and music's been big. So I also stuck with that too.
Let me ask you a question then, because what's more scarier, getting in front of a crowd of a certain amount of people, or getting behind all those buttons when you're about to fly an airplane?
You know what? Neither. I love them both. I think we do it for that moment. We don't do it to go, you know, from hotel to hotel. And we don't do it because we want to meet all the people, because there's definitely the good and the bad that you meet, you know, and the noise and the non-noise, but you do it for the experience of that moment when you're lifting off and you know that you're, I mean, for me, it was a lot of different work. Like aviation for me has been in an office and lifting off to go and actually do aerial imaging, which is another thing I was recently doing. But the crowd, when you're singing, you know, you get excited to be in front of them and express yourself and receive their support back. And sometimes not, you know, what you are expecting, good, bad, you never know, but it's that thrill. It's the thrill seeking.
So when I met you in 22, did you already kind of have the aviation bug, or is that something that just kind of came on late?
Yeah, for sure. Like when I was a kid, I remember thinking of flying around in a plane. And one time I remember very vividly making my pillows into a plane in my bedroom. And then I started sticking all these cute clothes from my favorite dresses and my cute little, like, you know, this bag and stuff. And I was like, I'm going to go somewhere. And I put them all inside of the plane. I pretended in my head that I was going somewhere. I was literally going to the front door and turning around. But I'd get into that little plane. I just imagine. I dream myself right into that seat. I fully believe it.
Well, so with you kind of just being a jet setter and all of this, what do you think of 2020? Because, you know, me, I've been kind of trying to do my own thing, thinking that this was not going to happen in my lifetime, but it's obviously happening right now, I feel. So I like
Yeah.
talking to kind of my normal friends and just bringing them on and kind of, is there any conspiracy theory that you kind of started, thinking about or are you worried about anything in particular about future us?
Certainly, definitely am aware of a lot of different theories and conspiracy or not, everybody has their right to their own opinion. So I respect everybody's, different thoughts on it. But for me, it's like, this is a great opportunity to understand that reinvention is key. I mean, you're never going to really know what's going to happen in a world that is not for sure. So the best thing is to always, number one, focus on your body and what you're doing to it, because that's immediately going to, teach you how you can respond to any kind of good, bad, whatever. So I think that 2020 has been scary for a lot of people, but scary is also based off of fear. And I'm sure the danger in leaning towards fear is pretty bad. So we just have to reset and recalculate,
I feel you on both of those things, but we have another show, a previous show, and it's, the Armenian Council for Truth and Journalism, where we're getting into a little more, where we have a lot of citizen journalists will come on or people in different groups or even council people that are running for office. And it seems like it's getting out of their hands as well, because, we see what's going on in Portland. We see what's going on in Albuquerque. We see what's going on in these different cities. And it just seems like it's escalating out of our control. They're using our anger that we should have towards them against each other. It seems like, though.
Have you checked out the fear index? Like what's going on there?
No, it's the fear index.
There's like the stock market calculates what's going on with like certain stocks and that sort. Well, there's also a fear-based index that shows our population's fear, how it goes up and down based on, different time frames, just like stocks. And right now our fear base is supposed to be super high. Now that stuff, honestly, I'm very much an affirmation person, so I don't look at it on a daily. I don't want to get too, and that's not to say that people who do that are endangering their minds. A lot of them, like you, are capable of, just probably swallowing down lots of information all day long and it not affecting you. But that's part of also how your chi, your balance, and I know you enough to know that you got that on lock. But yeah, that's something I think it calculates a lot, though, what our general population is doing.
No, I hear you. I appreciate that, and it actually does take it does take a toll. Like there's days that I cry a lot. Let's not get that twisted. But with that said, I'd like to bring on another one of our guests. Brock is the super talented co-host of the ACTJ, and he's the artist behind most of our T-shirts. And you can find him at our store by just going to the page and clicking that button. Let me just bring him on and say some nice words to his face real quick.
Hi.
First of all, before I do that, Brock, this is Laura. Laura, this is Brock.
Hi, Laura.
Hey, Brock.
Hey, so you're a pilot, huh? I did some flight lessons in one of those Cessnas down at McAir, down at Metro Airport in Denver. So
I am a co-pilot, but I've done a lot of courses where I was studying the instrument operations manuals, minimum equipment, all that stuff. So I worked in that for about 14 years. My depths of aviation are more along the guidelines of the FAA regs, stuff like that. But yeah, familiar with flying with a lot of pilots as a co-pilot.
Flight simulator was my main thing. I remember it was like back in the early 2000s, we had Windows 98, and we're playing Flight Simulator.
Dude, that was still cool back then. Still cool now.
I had the joystick and the pedals because my uncle was all into that shit. So we go to my uncle's house and I'd be fucking sitting there doing that stuff. I was just saying you could have the full view on the computer and you're hitting all the knobs, doing your pitch, things like that. And then you got you're doing your gas, working the rudders, air limbs, all that.
There's a new one coming out, man. There's a new one coming out. Check out the Microsoft. It's the brand new one, Flight Simulator. It's going to be very cool, you guys.
Last one I had was 2012.
So that would be pretty dope. So let me kind of push the show forward a little bit, but let me say, but before now, like most, Brock doesn't want to have to give a shit about what's going on in 2020, like most artists, but it seems like he's waking up to a new reality when we talk on the ACTJ, and I think he wanted to come on here and maybe talk about the kind of slippery slope we're on. And the one thing I wanted to talk to him, which he was directly affected by, was travel. He had planned to go to Ireland And as you know, we've definitely been ostracized from Europe. So I'm going to play a little clip real quick, and I want y'all to just kind of hear this out. This is going to be Fauci talking about our travel ban here, and it's just kind of to get the ball rolling.
Cool guy, yeah.
EU and some other European countries are opening their borders, but they're still banning travel from the United States. Do you think that's a justified decision on their part?
And I wouldn't use the word justified. I would say it's understandable.
These guys love
because,
to giggle.
When we saw that there were many cases in Europe and in China, we banned travel from the European Union, from the UK to us. So right now, they have their infection rate very low, much lower than we do. So they're looking at us and they're saying the same thing that we said to them. I wish that were not the case. I wouldn't be recommending that. I think we need to get back to some sort of normality, just the same as they're saying to us, why are you still banning travel from Europe? Which we are. I mean, so I'm all for America and I back what we do. But if I were a European, then I'd be looking at us. And I'd say, why are you still banning Europeans from coming to the United States?
It seems like they just talk out of both sides of their ass. It seems like you can catch them saying both things. What's your opinion when you hear that, Brock?
As far as opinion, I don't trust the media for one. I don't believe it. I mean, people are traveling right now. It's all a ruse. I mean, they say a ban. When you hear ban from travel, people get their flights canceled, things get canceled, everyone stays home, everyone's happy. But in reality, you can still travel. As far as what I'm hearing, what my friends are doing right now, I mean, nobody's having problems leaving the country.
And Lord, do you find it difficult to travel? You seems like you slowed down recently on traveling. Is it due to what's going on, or is it something else that kind of affected that? Do you have any insight on that?
You want the truth on that one, I'm guessing. So I'll give it to you. But okay. I just traveled through 5 states within 24 days, and my work was actually pretty harsh on me. They put me through like 100-degree temperatures, brand new systems, and all this other stuff. And you're everywhere you go, you're throwing this thing on your face. So the physical actual movement of doing it is one thing. And then you're questioning, is this me being tired? Is this me feeling COVID? You really don't know. Now I have literally brought vitamins and been healthy. I've studied it and I've got it in my background for a very long time. So I'm like the healthiest one on that troop, but the crew themselves, I saw everybody getting a little bit weak, and it made me concerned. But with the whole travel in and out of the US and all of that, I think that's just kind of standard confusion. Kind of like everybody's still experimental, and it's a huge ordeal. Yeah, it's a pandemic, but we're all still experimental with like how we handle it, because we've never had anything like this.
Right. And that's domestic flights. Have you dealt with any international stuff?
No, I've said no to a couple of those. Like we were supposed to be not so international. We were supposed to be doing some Canadian trips. And I would have liked that. That's not really international by any means, but it's further than where we were usually going. We were usually just within certain states in the US. But I mean, you would do like easily 12 cities in a 2 weeks period. So the amount of people that you're running into and talking to is just growing and growing. And believe me, not everybody is putting, disinfectant on this and that. You're sharing crew cars,
Right.
You're in an airplane. Essentially, it's a giant tube in the sky. I mean, they recycle the air. One person farts on there, everyone's going to smell that shit.
That's why I won't be a stewardess.
I do want to get this illustrious guest too and bring him on to enjoy our conversation. But I do want to kind of keep it real quick with y'all, because y'all are younger. And I want to know, I asked if there was like an awakening, or is there any kind of feeling of that nature? And it doesn't seem too much. Like you still think that there's the same future, because I know I'm thinking certain things. But what does this mean for y'all? Like, have y'all's future or career goals or anything, has any of that changed? Like, are you changing any of that? any of how your perceived future is.
I'm evolving my work into it. You know, if it doesn't work for me, I'm going to just change over to something that does. And if that doesn't work, I'll keep moving. That's just the way I'm doing it. I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody has to, like I said, it's about reinventing or making it doable, feasible. And everybody's a little bit fear-based, but got to retrack.
So that's just in general, like it's not specific to Corona. This is just your mantras. These are just your things. Like, so you're just keeping it moving, right?
Yeah. If anything, I've tripled what I'm doing this month.
Nutrition, yoga, hanging out. Now I'm going out of town, and I'm going to work on some projects with the Right family. So you'll be seeing Fly Right stuff thrown up on my wall again. Music stuff. I am working with some really rad people. JB Frank is an artist that I'm working with, and lots of random stuff. You'll see it all over, but keep it going, keep moving. Yeah, for sure. But before we keep going, is there any specific place that people can find most of your music? Because like you have a super soulful voice, and you take on challenges when it comes to singing. You don't try to stay in a little niche of anything. So I like that when I hear independent artists and you specifically. Do you have a place like a band camp, or is there a spot that you'd like to?
Yeah, I'm going to be doing some local stuff, most likely with a couple groups. One of them is obviously Michael Allman. We'll always work together no matter what. He's a rock dad. I'm on the album, but he's family. And that'll be mostly probably Florida, Georgia. You never know what the future holds on that one. But there's also another artist, like I said, JB Frank, who I'm working on some stuff, and I love his stuff. Now, it is new. You've heard me do like EDM, rock, pop, all that stuff. And a lot of mine is, if you're asking, on SoundCloud. You can look me up and find me on some YouTube music videos. It's a variety, and I purposely made it hard to find me. I don't know why I did that. I guess I'm a little stinker, but when I want it out there, I let people know where it is, and I do it for really the passion of it. I've sold a couple things, so I guess a lot of it will be for tracking. But
Awesome.
Yeah, that's where we're going with it. We're just gonna free flow and see how the music sells itself.
It's the fun of the creative process. If you had fun making it and you happen to have something that's marketable afterwards, well, good on you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
well, and he's in a good band. He's known all over. I don't want to put him out there, but he is known, and he's a very, very amazing writer. And he has more of a metal rock kind of feel, which is very different for me. But you never know. I might bring my violin in there and do some random, this or that. But I'm gonna let him put me in the vocal seat and do the rest, But it's rad, you guys. I'm definitely psyched to be working with him.
I'm psyched that you're psyched.
I heard this very funny story about Jamie Foxx and who's the redheaded really pale guy?
Kevin Bacon?
No, Ed Sheeran. So basically, Jamie Foxx invited had Ed Sheeran sleeping on his couch for a while. And Jamie Foxx was throwing this this expose, or this just the little thing is mostly black people, and he had the crowd going, he had his normal acts going, and then all of a sudden he threw Ed Sheeran in there, and everybody was like, "What are you doing to the room? Who is this guy?" He's like, "Just watch," And then he comes up there with a ukulele, and supposedly after 12 minutes, standing ovation. So
nice.
Music is music. That's why it is what it is. But I'd like
the spice.
I'd like to bring on our final guest, and he is the co-host of Thank You for Your Servers. He's a regular on ACTJ. We consider him the resident smart guy since he knows so much. Just an overall thoughtful badass. Thaddeus. We can bring Thaddeus, aka Hot Fire, on.
Good evening, guys. How you doing?
Yo.
Hey, ladies. How you doing, Laura? How you doing?
How are you?
I'm pretty good out here in the desert Southwest, living through monsoon season. Yay.
So
monsoon in the desert.
Yeah, no, isn't that crazy?
What's that even like? Because your ground is impermeable by any means, so it must flood like wild if you have a monsoon.
For real. I was talking to Laura, I'm pretty sure I'm born and raised in South Carolina, where it rains a lot, and I have never seen the amount of rain that comes from the sky in a place that was pretty much desolate a couple months before. I've never
global warming.
climate change. It's not.
Yeah, that's the new word for it. What happened to Al Gore? Is he still alive?
He's banking that cash.
Yeah, he's still banking on something. I feel like
he's banking a lot of money, man, for selling his propaganda network to the Qataris.
You guys are funny. I gotta hang with you more often.
Yeah, I can't knock the hustle. I can't knock the hustle though, but I'm just saying.
So it's funny. So I actually did bring Thaddeus on at this time for a specific reason, because he is an actual nerd, and I want to use highlighting his nerdiness to kind of talk about something that's kind of nerdy, but I also want to diffuse its nerdiness, and that's net neutrality, because I feel net neutrality, like it really encapsulates a lot of kind of the tricks that corporations do on us, where they create these paywalls and these regulations that us cannot enter their industries anymore. So that becomes covert fascism.
Let's talk about YouTube. You used to be able to throw ads on YouTube if you wanted to. Now you need like fucking 10,000 watched minutes in a 30-day period or something. That's ridiculous.
Yes, and it works the same way in every industry. And I want to do this, and I want to highlight it. I'm about to play a clip, and it's going to be a little long, but this is my biggest fear with something like net neutrality. And I'm gonna let Thaddeus talk about it for a second, but it's basically legalizing censorship, and it's also fascism. And I'm gonna play this clip, and it's gonna really explain this. And it's gonna be a big clip, but it's also gonna be a video. So this is a first in Lou Starski Plays Ball history. So we'll
hit the clip, man. Hit the clip.
Let's do it.
Yeah, see that work.
And then we can. Do you want to do like this? Yeah.
Does this bother you?
Yes.
To make it go away. We often assume that all the information on the internet is equally accessible. It's not quite as simple as that, but this ideal is the basis of net neutrality. It's an issue that's been on the agenda in the US for years, but it actually affects people all over the world. Here's the problem. Without net neutrality, your internet service provider, or ISP, such as BT or Comcast, could influence what you see and how quickly you see it. In order for you to watch YouTube, browse Facebook, or read the news, you need an ISP to connect you to that content. Net neutrality demands that ISPs should treat all web traffic the same. Let's think about that in terms of real traffic. The ISPs are like the road between Tech City, where companies like Amazon and Google are based, and Consumerville, where you live. These companies have to send information along the road, which is owned by the ISP. Currently, vehicles from Google and vehicles from a small company travel on the same road at the same speed. The ISP cannot favor one over the other, so the Google van cannot overtake its competitor's little car.
I feel like I'm playing GTA.
Imagine the road is converted into a highway with a fast and slow lane.
More Frogger.
To access the fast, pay the ISP more money.
Definitely Prager.
This favors big companies who can afford to pay. Some companies might even be denied access to the road altogether. It would be the ISP's choice. Without net neutrality, the ISP highway has stopped treating all traffic the same. What does this mean for you?
I don't know. Tell me.
Without net neutrality, you might find some services slow down unless your favorite sites pay the ISPs. This has happened before. In 2014, before net neutrality regulations were enshrined in law, Comcast customers noticed Netflix streaming speeds plummeting. It wasn't until Netflix agreed to pay Comcast more money that streaming speed shot up again.
Oh no, I'll break that down.
To higher prices for you.
Sure you will.
ISPs could charge premium prices for people who want to watch a video or listen to music at peak times. And if companies are forced to pay for the fast lane, the price increase might be pushed back onto the consumer. That means you could end up paying more to browse your favorite sites. You might even notice a decrease in the quality of content. While
I've never had a stream that bad.
Pay up for better service delivery, smaller companies may not be able to keep up. Less competition means less pressure to improve products and services. And if smaller companies fold, the consumer will have less choice. ISPs could choose to slow down content of any kind.
I was wondering that as well, Ryan.
If Netflix makes an arrangement with an ISP, the ISP could block Netflix's competitors from reaching customers. Many ISPs have started their own streaming services. They could favor their own content and block competitors out completely. And it's not just about business. They could also censor content that they disagree with. ISPs argue that if there was less regulation and they were able to charge a premium for faster service, they could reinvest the money in better infrastructure.
Never happens.
This could include improved access for people in remote and rural areas. If popular services like YouTube are putting more strain on the ISP's network, it makes sense for them to pay more anyway. Right?
Yes.
Would say it's not their job to improve the internet, just as it's not BMW's job to build better roads. What's more, many argue that any extra money paid to ISPs would really just go into the pockets of shareholders. One thing's certain, net neutrality creates a level playing field which spurs innovation. Small companies can easily challenge competitors, which motivates them both to improve their products. Small startups have a fighting chance to grow and even surpass their big rivals. That's how Facebook rose from humble origins in Mark Zuckerberg's university dorm room to domination over market leader MySpace. ISPs
I miss MySpace.
any consumers who don't
Tom
like
was
the
a
way
good
they
guy.
operate.
Tom was all of our
dreams, bro. He was a pro, you know.
I was just talking about MySpace the other day.
Broadband from one internet provider in their area. Without net neutrality, that one ISP could have a lot of control over what those consumers get to see online. So what do you think? Should net neutrality rules be protected, loosened a little, or even scrapped altogether?
I don't know, you BBC News on YouTube.
First things first, that video was pretty dated.
Yes. It was just a quick synapse for most of this because I
But
think
it got the message across.
right.
Oh, yeah,
And I do feel we are under attack. So I'm gonna let Thaddeus take the floor on it as a response to that. What do you think, Thaddeus? Am I
First things first.
outrageous?
Lippman at the MIT Media Lab broadcasting to you.
Is that, I know.
I know.
Hold on.
I know.
Oh, is it still playing? Okay.
I read
Well, so allow me before I get into the technical and the political reasons as to why this was absolute bullshit. Let me tell you that it was absolute bullshit. So the way they described it here was net neutrality is this kind of concept that someone kind of came up with in like the early 2000s, where a guy by the name of Tim Wu, who has this, I guess, aversion to monopoly, which we all should, basically saying that, hey, there's a potential going forward in the future that that certain internet service providers, basically the people who operate the backbone, well, not even the backbone, but the people who operate what is called the last mile. And that is the person who gives you your internet at the house. Because, see, there's 2 or 3 levels of the internet that exists today. So the problem with this whole argument was it was saying that certain types of traffic would be deprioritized versus other types of traffic. I'm here to let you know on the infrastructure side, because there's 2 or 3 levels of this. On the infrastructure side, they absolutely do that. Because if your Netflix doesn't work, you bitch. So what prompted this move to basically rewrite telecommunications law and basically make internet service providers Title II entities, i.e. utilities, was literally just the fact that that dispute between not Comcast, but it was Verizon and Netflix, was basically because at its height, as broadband was growing and as Netflix was growing as a broadband service, it was using literally 60% of the internet backbone. This puts a strain on Verizon. And so in a dick move, Verizon basically stopped prioritizing their traffic, or at the very least said, hey, they went to Netflix, you need to co-locate some more server infrastructure, either give us that or pay us some more. Because there are these peering arrangements at the ISP and the infrastructure, i.e. backbone level, where Comcast Networks talks to Verizon's network, and they basically, for a long time, exchanged just the same amount of traffic. And on their books, it was a wash. But it got to the point where more people were kind of streaming TV and Netflix that it was putting strains on networks. The ISPs wanted them to pay more money. So before this shit even kicked off, the internet service providers all and the content providers all shook hands. Everybody worked together. They figured it out. They knew, all right, well, we're going to have to pay a little bit more. And like Verizon and all these other big backbone providers, like, okay, well, we'll update our co-location facilities. But here comes in the net neutrality bullshit. So all internet traffic is prioritized, period. Like my email internet traffic is not going to be higher priority than our stream right now, because why would I use a certain backbone provider if they can guarantee?
I have 20,000 unread emails.
Yeah, well, I don't use those.
I have more than you.
Oh,
That's
a little
crazy.
flex there. A little flex there.
Uh-oh.
And
I-
you know what? They're all,
than you. I was like, yeah.
they're all in AOL.
That should exist.
We all remember.
I got
have
jokes.
AOL, and I have a Yahoo account that I give. So if I meet you in person and I give you my Yahoo email account, I hate you because I don't check that account. If I give you an MSN account, then it's like, okay, you're cool, but I'm not going to. But if I give you my Gmail, we cool.
I can't think of a single instance where I give someone my email. What's your email? Well, let me just jot that down for you.
Man, I do activism with the olds, and so
The olds. Get into
they
that.
still use email and stuff like that, and I was just like, okay,
So I have a question, Thaddeus.
go.
Do they track all this that you obviously are like the one who knows a little bit more about this whole what's it called? Net
Neutrality. Yeah, net neutrality.
Net neutrality.
Yeah.
Is this all something that began prior to this whole like you're stuck at home and all you've got is your computer
Yes.
and your refrigerator?
Yeah, this was about
Convenient.
kicked off in 2015,
All right.
2014, 2015.
I was thinking that.
On the way
So
out,
you need to go to the show, the most popular show in Vegas, since you're there, right? The computer show.
Well, I'm close to Vegas. I'm not that close to Vegas.
Okay, well you're closer than we are. You go out there. Luis is going to talk about it on the radio show. Brock is going to write a song about it, and I'm just going to say, ladies, I've done my part. Gentlemen, no, but seriously, it is something that relates. If you ask me, goes right back to trending. It's conveniently trending with what we're going through.
Yeah.
So that's like an obvious right there.
So here's the divide between the net neutrality debate as a whole. Okay, so it became a political debate, as everything did. The Obama administration, on the way out, basically told the FCC to implement these Title II regulations, basically making every ISP a utility. This is a terrible idea. This has been done before. This has been done with AT&T. And I could go through a long history of telecommunications history and law, but the long story short, remember when AT&T sucked and it was a monopoly? Well, that was kind of when the government basically said, we're going to take over communications and do stuff. And
But then they had commercials where they had the guy where it's like, can you hear me now?
There's never a trust suit in American history that has ever worked out for the people. It's always enriched the people.
They always settle out of court. Every antitrust case I've ever seen.
But that's not really what I wanted y'all to take out of that video. What I really wanted y'all to see is how easily fascism could be instituted in a covert way.
Well, I'm getting there.
Fascism is literally just the government and the largest corporations and the largest businesses working together. And if we look at America, and you know, my main contention is that the people that funded Nazi Germany were American companies, were American banks, and they funded that idea of fascism. And if it wasn't for Bentley Butler back in the day, we would be already a fascistic country because they had all the power. It was literally one guy just ratted out the whole thing. And then they had to save face. They shut it down. They went into war with Nazi. And then what they did is the same financiers took all those scientists that they were funding and took them everywhere else. And then they did the same shit in China.
Then we had AOL.
And then we got
and they created AOL. And then they gave us those terrible sounds. There's no reason for those to be.
But that's how we got here, right? Because that was the attempt. By virtue of making it a utility, it would have basically gave the government almost carte blanche into dictating to the ISPs what it needed to do. But this was the first step. So the administration changes. Ajit Pai, who is now the chairman of the FCC, because the FCC now had control over this. And basically he said, no, these are stupid rules, pull them back. But he brought a warning. He said, I don't really see ISPs limiting traffic. You know who I see limiting traffic and limiting content? Edge providers. What is an edge provider? Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, everyone.
Oh God, are you telling me it was the hashtag all along?
It was the hashtag all along, bro.
Fuck!
Also, we were supposed to be dead by now because net neutrality was repealed. And so basically the fear, it was a bait and switch. The fear was actually founded by the FCC chairman. How many motherfuckers have been removed from these social media platforms? It's not the infrastructure providers ultimately and the ISPs who were your enemy. It was ultimately the edge providers and the content providers or the people who provide platforms for us to do what we're doing. That's ultimately who's, And here's the deal: they are useful idiots. They believe that they can cleanse the internet of unfair and problematic and hate speech. And so, even though they are facing government sanction on both their left and right flank. If we're talking about the economy of
so what you're saying, it's not the service provider that's causing these issues. It's the platforms that most Americans, actually most of the world, that log into that are actually running.
That is the most dangerous. Now there are precedents for things like, if we ever remember things like Gab could not find a platform, an infrastructure platform provider, a domain registrar.
Discord go through that too?
What's that?
What was that?
Will Discord and other
No, they're gonna play. I'm already in I'm in the Make Liberty Great Again podcast network, and some of the hosts for some of the shows who have Discord like channels and stuff like that have been removed because of problematic speech.
Really? See,
what happened to 4chan?
Right.
They became 8chan. They had to move deeper underground because they were not getting hosting services.
Let's talk about deep web. Let's talk about deep web because people think that's some huge conspiracy. Like you need contacts. All you have to do is drop the HTTPS.
It's
from your search bar, and you're in the dark web.
Right. If you have a Tor browser, you can get into the dark web. If you use some of these distributed kind of BitTorrent-like services, you can get to areas of the internet uncharted.
Well, that's the thing. Everyone thinks like the internet's this big conspiracy when it comes with Facebook and MySpace and all the boomer things I could say about it. But really, it's only like 2%, if even that, of what's really down there. Because all the internet is a bunch of computers working together. Everybody has a computer. Everybody's computer acts as a server. If you drop the HTTPS or even HTTP off your site, you can even probably look at whatever you're watching us on right now. It probably has that HTTP or HTTPS before any WW.
Right. That's basically what a domain registrar does.
No,
exactly.
You can actually you can go straight IP address in. But ultimately, though, these people, they're trying to go after the infrastructure providers.
Will the Internet of Things kind of solve that problem for them?
The Internet of Things is more of think of it as more of an industrial thing, but definitely the distributed ledger, the things that use like blockchain, things that use actually BitTorrent still around, those types of protocols ultimately, when people start getting sick and tired of not being able to have their service hosted on Azure or Amazon or whatever, they're going to start building their own types of infrastructure. But they're going to start going after network providers and the backbone providers. They will. You mark my words. Oh, wait a minute. Problematic speech from the Daily Stormer is coming across your L3's like backbone, telecommunications backbone. It's like, it's just going through a router. What are you talking about? They're going to want that level of control because these people don't care. They don't stop. I mean, I saw a guy who wrote a book about Gutenberg the Geek, who basically kind of showed the virtues of why the Gutenberg, the press was this enabling thing for the Gutenberg, Bible and everything he printed. It was the press. I mean, basically, the press was basically the enabler, kind of like the internet is today for expression. This guy today, he wrote that book 10 years ago. This guy today is talking about writing letters to the FCC.
We shouldn't fear the internet.
St. Clair and Fox News Network by going to the FCC and telling them to give them sanction and make it hard for them to renew their license.
I can't get my eyes off that puppy right now.
I know, right? It's like a.
I had to stop you guys. Hey, I'm still here. I'm just kidding. I follow what you're saying to some degree, but I think that we've lost all control when it comes to the computer. You put your face on it and it has face recognition. It's got the sounds that are going on around it, and you're not even thinking about your phone, your computer, your laptop, all that stuff. It accesses like information without us even thinking about it, So the ability to go faster speed, slower speed is just up to their fun little rat race. Like there's always going to be one company trying to be bigger than the other. And there's also always going to be one that outdoes the other, and then the other one outdoes the other. And before you know it, we're all kind of like just it's all neutral. It becomes neutral. And then they find something else to stick in our arm or whatever. I mean, I do have those. I have those theories. It's true.
Hey,
but
this is only 4%. This is only 4% of what the actual World Wide Web is.
Right.
Yeah, Brock is
yeah.
I mean, the majority of what we see is a very small smidget of what the internet is,
which is terrifying even in its own.
Right,
that's like our oceans. It's like
we know
a little bit,
but not a lot. A bunch of interconnected servers, computers, Internet of Things, appliances, cameras, stuff like that is most of the internet. Right, that is like that stuff. That's and that's the stuff that gets prioritized. Right, despite what they say, like I would prefer my webcam if I am in Las Vegas and I want to keep an eye on my house. I better get that video in real time, and someone is paying for me to do that. Right, because someone has to pay for it. All internet traffic is prioritized. So the net neutrality debate was stupid. It was a political debate. It was a feel-good debate. It was nothing.
When you're arguing about it's like I like statistics when they're applied dumb. I'm not too about it, but yeah, the net neutrality it applies to 4% of the internet.
Yeah, right.
And what does that really come down to? Netflix. Facebook, Instagram, which are they're essentially monopolizing anyway. So I mean,
does everybody here use Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Netflix, Hulu, everything?
I use Twitter and I use Facebook for family, and I use YouTube because I like video.
I'm a Facebook.
Okay.
Facebook are my vices. But
I'm definitely on Facebook, but I don't use like the Twitter, all that stuff. I try to get into it and then cut it off. But I'm asking because it seems like it's like so much to keep up with, is it not?
How does one tweet? Is my problem. Like I think I have a Twitter, but I could never get like any followers. I don't know how it works. I have one, but I have no idea how I think I had somebody set it up, like an assistant in the past, maybe 7 years ago. I have no idea how to get back in. Instagram.
I hope she's not running my life for me.
Every time I'm on Facebook, Ben, I go to Instagram and I'm just like, what do I do here? So I just take a bunch of I take slutty photos. I go out in my garden and just like pull my pants down, hold my thumb up at a weird angle on that so it looks like my pecker.
Everybody does that.
The last portion of the show, so I'm gonna try to because there's somebody that I've always respected, and real quick. KRS. So I'm gonna bring in a clip from KRS-One that I found, and it's like a 13-year-old clip, but I want y'all to see how prescient this guy's conversation was even 12 years ago, and these are the people that I was listening to, and I want to get y'all's take on it because he's a musical prodigy. He's well respected in all communities, I believe. If anybody even knows of him, they only talk about him in high regards, or they don't know of him. And so this is something that the KRS-One. I'm going to come back and I'm going to give my little synopsis, and I'm going to let y'all just go at it. But I want y'all to really talk about this clip. So hear me out.
America has broken its own rules, has broken its own laws. It's time for the citizenry of the United States to actually follow its own laws. If we stay steadfast to the Constitution, at least, we won't be hit so hard with that global agenda. Violence in society is not caused by the people. It's caused by the neglect of leadership. And the police are the #1 cause of violence in society. They make the people jittery. They make the people insecure. Plus, if you look up what a police officer is in the Black's Law Dictionary, the only thing the police are supposed to be doing is keeping the peace. And they do not. So whose fault is it when you have violence in society if you're paying taxes to have peace in society and moral justice? The police are supposed to be the epitome of morality. Our children are supposed to look at a police officer and see an example of what a citizen is. Now they fear them. So if our children don't even respect the police, how are they going to respect the law?
Yep.
All right, guys, what do y'all think of that?
Absolutely. The relationship between law enforcement and the citizenry, you have definitely seen this year, has been frayed or in a lot of communities, absolutely destroyed. Now, I always have a philosophy, right? And, you know, as an African-American, we obviously, my folks have had a history with law enforcement, but I always tell people, even my brothers back home, like, if you understand this relationship with the state, you'll understand anything. That they have the ability, these cops, to kidnap you, extort you, and kill you. If you understand that relationship, then any interaction with the law enforcement, the people who are the violent arm of the state, then you'll understand that. But that's sad because he's right. We should not respect police officers, right? We should at least understand their plight. I mean, they deal with the worst people in society, but they also suffer from PTSD and they become authoritative and they become authoritarian and they basically poison the relationship, particularly with the communities that they're supposed to police, which is why these communities hate them. They look at them as an occupying force. And it's sad because without law and order, there is chaos, not anarchy. But
anarchists like to think chaos is a means to an end. I disagree, but I mean, right now I do want to take a moment. I want to remind everybody. I hate doing this part, but I got to remind everybody to like, share, and comment, subscribe. We got Lou Starski plays ball here. Is it every Sunday, Lou?
Every Sunday.
Every Sunday.
Doing little recap shows throughout the week, kind of just to be a little more informal and just kind of finish up any conversations that we may have not had. But what I want to do, and
can we also do a plug for the Nameless Program with Jaja, episode 12, Identity? They're coming up here in about 5-6 minutes on the Nameless Program. You can find them on Facebook and YouTube.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, bro. So one thing so I want to just kind of lay this out real quick, and I want to get y'all's opinion on this.
Okay.
So if my theory is correct, it's the same people that did Nazi Germany, the Russian Revolution, and now China, and they are the same people that own our Fed and our Federal Reserve, and they're the same people I contend that killed JFK, RFK, Malcolm X, all of them, and it's not America helped defeat the Nazis. It's we're not being taken over and attacked by something that's different. It's basically they are transforming their form, and what they wanted was fascism. We didn't take it as raw as they tried to give it to us with that Germany shit. But what they're doing right now is they're giving us covert fascism. And it's not looking good for us. Like, I fear we are going to be just so insignificant as a human being to the system that they have in place. And that's what I fear is like where I feel like we used to have an impact. I don't think that has any place in the future. And I think we're about to see the incarnate of fascism on the next level. And I think they're kind of playing us, and they're setting it all up so that it can all be explained in the history books, because it's not us that they give a fuck about. It's the little kids. They're more focused about these 10 and 12-year-olds than they are about us right now, because they want to make sure that they get in on this scientific this scientific dictatorship bullshit. And I just think it's time to wake up. It's almost like rise and shine, which is why I named this show this. What do y'all think about that policy? What if it's not nation countries fighting against each other, but something even more nefarious? I want y'all to go there.
Every time I think of something as devious as that, what's their end game? Because you think about it in your life, you got shitty friends, you got shitty coworkers, you got shitty people in your life. And one thing I've always found about psychopaths is they want something out of it, whether it just be enjoyment of watching you squirm, or they want free drugs, they want a meal, they want free, you want you to buy them a drink. Look at the grand scheme of things. If I could think of a global community, one thing that they would have to earn from this is build it up, take us out, and essentially manage what's left. I mean, but that's such a long, arduous road to even delve into. I mean, that's my 10 cents or 2 cents or 1 cent.
This is the culmination of 50 plus years of government schooling. And so you're right. They are sort of preparing us to be serfs. There's a new kind of feudalism that's kind of that's permeating the world. And there are oligarchs. There are people who have a vision of the divisions of the anointed, of those who believe in the be it constrained or unconstrained vision of man, and they believe that they're better, and it's just a new kind of serfdom that they're pushing it, but it's a serfdom that we're more than willing to accept because we have bright shiny toys like Instagram and we have phones. And like I said, the people out on the street that are just tearing down stuff and have no historical knowledge or background as to how we got here and the sacrifices that most minorities who are second, third, or fourth generation immigrants did to even build this place is a direct result of poor government schooling. We send our kids off to Roman schools and we wonder why they come back Romans.
Yeah, it's hard to build a new future when you have an old past dragging you back, right?
And you know what? On the contrary, I'd like to say that I think personally, and I did not say this earlier when you asked, what do you think? Luisi said, what do you think about these conspiracy theories and that sort? I really think that with my experience with Nutritional Council and health recently, we've had a trend that has totally taken over, and maybe you've noticed it, maybe you haven't. It might have been on Netflix when you watched Game Changers. It might have been going through, Whole Foods, picking up a new vegan burger, maybe Burger King. Let's just face it,
burgers, yeah.
Everybody has seen a friend go vegan. They've seen a family member question this whole thing. It's real. And what would happen if the number one country that made our pharmaceuticals had the odd, random worry of it becoming like an epidemic of good health here? What would happen then? So my thoughts are back to grounding. You've got to know your stuff, and you have to be into your health, and you have to be able to see through all eyes. They want to block it. Everybody wants to, everyone wants to be able to see things clearly. They want to be able to feel everything naturally. And there's always something. There's a preservative, there's a alcoholic, there's a drug addict, there's somebody that's in the way that's making you help them do this, do that, go there, hide this. And I'm going to be opening up on some stuff very soon here in the next few days. I'm going to be filming with ASY Network. That's a network that is completely independent, and we've been doing stuff for the last 4 years, and you guys are fully welcome on our shows at any point in any time. We have 44 shows. Brandon Bishop, amazing. That is not me throwing a pitch. It's truly what I believe in. And I walked away because I stood by what is honorable to rights. I walked away from 2 years of working in aerial survey, and it was something where I literally made them force me out this last 2 years. They put me in some very dangerous positions. They put me in places where I was in 100-degree heat on the ground in an airplane, just begging for freaking help. 24 days on the road, away from my family, away from my beautiful little puppy named BB we all love. But the process of learning what was really valuable, you guys, was straight up all I needed to do was just put it right back in here. The body is all we have. Forget everything. And that's, you guys know that. I know you know that. But they try and numb us, and that's where it comes back to is if you don't have health, you're screwed. So if they put it in the air, if they're dropping it, I had to wonder for a minute, what are we really doing up here? That
is coming up. I do have a guest who did a documentary on what you're referring to, and his name is Matt Landman, and I feel privileged enough to have him confirm a show. So we're gonna do a show where we talk a lot about that. And
I want to watch that show. I might even want to talk to that person on one of my shows with you or whatever.
I'll stay in touch with you for sure, and when I bring him on, it'll probably make him more comfortable. But
it's ironic to be in Corona. Sorry to interrupt you, but it's ironic to be going in a coronavirus and be okay with the fact that you're saying no to a paycheck that will close you out, but it will shut you off of 20 of your legal rights as an American human being that has worked their ass off for this corporation. So I'm a happy woman. Like I'm doing it on my own. I'm doing this new stuff that I've got ahead of me, that I've been working 4 years in the same groups and the same TV shows, all that stuff. But I knew that there was always going to be that, because what we were doing was so kind of neutralized. But you know, you do have to question stuff that is putting you out there and risking you. And it's like you said, that there's always somebody that wants to be in control and power. You know, earlier, this is what it is. We're always being challenged. We have to be on our game, our A game.
Well, it is time to kind of close out the show, and I want to thank all y'all for being on here. Laura, I know your time is very precious. Brock, same as you. I'm surprised you're not too inebriated from a full day of Dungeons and Dragons, and I always appreciate you coming on. And I don't know if you quite answered my question, but I'm still pondering and chewing on what you said. So I'm sure I'll watch the show a couple times to even know exactly what.
I just like to keep you thinking, Lou.
Yeah. And, I'm gonna say everything. Like I said, I want to thank y'all again. I really do appreciate it, man. Conversation and discussion is the most important thing that we have going on right now. You know, like everything else, it's biased. Everything else is trying to convince you of something. And if my theory is correct, and this is a full-on assault, that we are under attack as humans, and this is not a political fight, but this is a spiritual fight. And whatever that way manifests inside you, this is something that you need to tap into deeper than anything superficial that we've been provided in the last, like the whole time that you've been alive. So I just think it's definitely time for us to come together. You know, unity is where it's at.
You just want to hold hands.
I wanted to get into unity.
Put your hands up.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to get into strategy, and I love this guy right here. This guy was from this was a march that they did. This is like 2 million. I know that sounds adorable. Almost 2 million people, I believe, like all showed up to do a pro-gun march. And this was a black gentleman there that wasn't even armed. He just went to this everybody was armed at event, and this is one thing he said. I'm just going to cut it short, but
United we stand,
that's right, brother.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
United we stand. But they mad because it wasn't no civil unrest. Now they gonna be mad because it wasn't no fight. Now they gonna be mad because then nobody get locked up. They gonna be mad because all the officers is at peace. They gonna be mad because ain't nobody out here fighting.
That's where we got to get back to. We got to tap into each other. And so I'm gonna say, body, y'all. I'm gonna, because we are definitely way behind on time. But I'm gonna say a few final words, and then we're gonna, shout out to our sponsors and move on. But God damn it, I love y'all, every one of y'all, and I appreciate it.
Wonderful chatting with you guys, listening to all your thoughts and your.
We'll see you on social media here soon. Maybe you'll get into the airplane soon. Who knows? So, I just want to say. It's not a conspiracy theory, but simply a conspiracy. And the corporations are now legalized monarchies. And corporate foundations and sponsorships of that nature has had a profound effect on us. And we need to dig back into the 100 years that it has existed and see how it's affected our conversation or the American discord, like just everything. I mean, from how we teach group psychology to how we do our marketing to each other, and it has a great effect on us. And since the turn of the last century, I really do feel we are under attack, and I do feel that we are entering the last phase. And there was a UN Agenda 2021, then it got changed to the UN Agenda 2030. There is also an institution that's been around since 1922. That has a vision for America in 2050 that literally has 11 nation states and not 50 states that we have now. So they're really trying to change things up, and we really need to either unite and stand against this, or fall victim to whatever they have planned, and they do have a plan. But anyways, that's our show. Please show love to our sponsors, Flickwick. We got the Flickwick little packaging here, and visit shop.flickwick.com. The promo code ACTJ. You can also use ACTJ for 20%. And if you find any error in today's clips or anything like that I did, just show it in the comments, and I'll send you out a free Flickwick, as always. And then also, show love to our guest, Laura Diorsi. She's amazing. She's fun to watch on social media, as I have since I've been in Denver, and she's stayed on the East Coast. Our next guest was Brock, KY5 Gaming, ACTJ, Farmington Tribune, and Thaddeus. Thank you for our servers. So definitely go find that blog and that video clips of Thaddeus. He's just probably dropping more hot fire, as he always does. But anyways, we are the underdogs in all of this, and citizen journalism is super important right now. So that's why I've gotten involved, and I feel that I know a lot of people that give different perspectives. This is not an echo chamber. I don't want to foster anything like that. I definitely have my thoughts on how things are running, but I want to bring other people in and challenge those thoughts, and challenge other people on their thoughts. And that's how we're going to get to the bottom of this. That's how I truly feel we will. So as you play ball, we'll make it happen. So visit all our affiliated show pages, subscribe, like, follow, all that good stuff. We have KY5 Gaming. We did a Dungeons and Dragons. If you want to watch your boy play Dungeons and Dragons for the first time in his 43 years on the earth, go and watch that 17-hour clip that we have. I don't know how long that shit felt forever. But that was fun. And we also have the ACTJ that comes on right before this show. And we have go run right when we're done with this, go run over to the Nameless Program, find out what they're talking about. It's going to be identity today, and I'm sure it's going to be amazing because he always is on point. Visit the TMI page to stay up to date with all of them. And that's it, man. We're gonna be signing off. So good night.